Chinese can now have 3 babies for each couple. Wow, would it be time to celebrate? Not for the Chinese. They seem not excited at all about this new policy. Why? What is the reason behind this policy coming into place? Because the threat of China's aging population could be bigger and more severe than we could imagine. China may become old before it becomes rich. If you want to know more, stay with me. Welcome to Beyond the News. I'm Faye. China Census 2020 results showed that China has its population increased by 5.38% to a total of 1.4 billion people. But a decade earlier, from 2000 and 2010, the Chinese mainland's population grew has an increase of 5.84%, from 1.26 billion to 1.34 billion, according to the result of the 6th population census. So it has been growing more slowly than usual. In fact, this is the slowest growth rate since the 1960s. To make things worse for the communist regime, in the latest census, the number of people aged 15 to 59 has declined by about 7%. However, the population of those above 60-year-old increased by more than 5%, which means less young hard workers and more oldies getting pensions from the government. Look, even those politically remarking of the census numbers is enough to push the communist regime to be paranoid about their future aging population, even though evidence shows that these 1.4 billion is a fake number. Reliable evidence and records show that the population of China today is below 1.4 billion. In fact, it is much lower than that. Just take 2 examples. According to the official government record, from 2006 to 2020, there are 238 million newborn babies. Therefore, the 2020 census data for people aged between 0 to 14 should be around 238 million, right? Wrong. The census data recorded 250 million aged between 0 to 14. So 12 million people appeared from nowhere. Second, official data said there were 12 million newborns in 2020, but the census claims the population naturally grew another 11.7 million people. That means in 2020, only 300,000 people died naturally. Compare with that number in the past, the annual natural death number was around 10 million. So 300,000 and 10 million. Let that sink in. And the 2017 New York Times report also says that China's real population in 2016 was 1.29 billion people instead of its own claimed number of 1.38 billion. Considering this, you may realize the population decline and aging may be much more serious than the already bad official numbers. And now, the regime suddenly announced this 3-child policy that must be a very desperate state. As we all know, having an aging population will increase the burden on the society, and it means the workforce will shrink and less productivity. There will be relatively fewer people for military enlistments, and social unrest would be inevitable. So the regime is naturally freaking out for good now. But why has China's population declined so much, you may ask? Well, this reminds me of a note saying, "Eat the bitter fruit of one's own making." And in this case, the CCP is eating their own one-child policy bitter, or the poison fruit. For the one-child policy, some people may just say, parents are allowed to have only 1 child, not big deal. But what happens if they had twins or triplets, or with an accidental pregnancy? Well, my friend, there are the questions you should be asking, and let me tell you some true facts which you may never have heard of yet. The one-child policy introduced by Deng Xiaoping was initially a straightforward blanket rule, 1 child per couple, coming into law in 1979 and was only intended to last 1 generation. But the reality is the policy lasts until 2015, when the 2-child policy started. Men and women are encouraged to delay getting married until their mid to late 20s, and couples with one child would receive a certificate that entitled them to better childcare and housing, as well as longer maternity leave, cheap fertilizer, and maybe even the interest-free loans if you're lucky. But for those who break this law, consequences including heavy fines, salary reductions, being fired from work, and difficulty in gaining government assistance, etc. That's called getting off easy compared to the forced sterilizations and late-term abortions that were also handed down. These brutal crackdowns led to birth tourism. I heard a true story from a Chinese woman before. She was pregnant with twins, and it had been 7.5 months old, and she was forced to undergo an immediate abortion. After they forced the abortion, the babies came out and were still crying. But they just threw one of the 2 newborn babies into a big tank of water, and the straw bag was wrapped around the baby just to make sure that the baby would drown. There were more evil doings. They would often enforcing forced abortions to women with 8 to 9 month pregnancy. Such abortion carried a great risk of killing the mother and the baby together, and that's what they did, killing them both. And sadly, these kinds of evil acts happened a lot back then, during the one-child policy period. It was estimated that the Chinese Communist Party has killed 400 million babies and countless pregnant moms. And now, when they need more young people to work for them, they are forcing everyone to have 3 children, what a typical evil reflection of the CCP. And as we all see what is happening in China today, the population is declining fast, especially for those between the age of 16 to 59 who have the ability to work. So it is creating a huge crisis for the regime. Not enough workers means not enough production, means not enough profit, means not enough money for the government. Oh wait, haven't they tried to save this situation already? Yes, they are trying. In 2016, the regime revised its one-child policy to two-child policy. And what is the result? None. They are yet to see increased birth rates, nor could they see any willingness of couples to have more than one child nowadays. Well, apparently a poll on Xinhua Weibo account asking, "Are you ready for the 3-child policy?" About 29,000 of the total 31,000 respondents said they would never think of it. And then the post got deleted fast. Then why the Chinese people are not willing to have more children themselves? Reasons are various. For instance, people who are the one-child products themselves never experienced the siblings in their lives. They have no clear idea whether it is good or bad. And most people simply think more kids means more burden and more cost of living. And now, since the 3-child policy came into place, the regime is preparing to make the legal marriage age down to 18. And all those housing and maternity leave benefits are presented to women who want more kids and withdraw from those who only want one. But the problem is, since the 2-child policy didn't make much difference, will the 3-child policy save the aging population in China? What do you think? Leave me a comment below. Alright, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. I'm Faye from Beyond the News. Until next time.